This is All 32 Picks and IPA, your NFL and craft beer fancast with your hosts Adam Emmert, Brandan Schultz, and Gerrad Tim. Play along at picksandIPAs.com/join. Hooray football! Hooray beer!
This is All 32 Picks and IPAs, and I'll be deferring this week once again to this week's winner, Adam Emmert, for the introductions.
Weekly champion once again. Only not by a lot, Brandan. I mean, my distinguished co-host here, only 10 points behind me with 90. Brandan Schultz.
Thank you, sir. Yep, good to be in second place. If only it came down to that terrible Tampa Bay game against Carolina, and you and I each on two different sides.
I switched right before the game.
You did. Maybe smartly, but it was oh so close. Maybe. Derek Anderson almost took me to the promised land this week.
That's right, until he did through a pick. Now, talking about people who are terrible, Gerrad Tim, another bad week in the picks.
I had nobody taking me to the promised land. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I
pick
told
better.
You guys before the show, I'm going to rationally pick the rest of the year.
Yeah. Well, that seems like what you've been doing so far at the beginning of the year.
You'd think, yeah. So, no, I thought I was rationally picking, so I'm going to go irrational, and maybe it'll fix something.
But this week, gentlemen, we are drinking the Brown-Eyed Squirrel from RJ Rockers Brewing Company. When you have Squirrel and Brown Eye in the title, you kind of wonder, but we'll get into the review this week.
It's incredibly saxy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it says right on the bottle.
It has a squirrel playing the saxophone right on the bottle.
Mm-hmm. A tenor saxophone. So, yeah, very interesting.
Adam knows the saxophone, so he can tell you exactly what kind it is.
I played the saxophone from the 5th grade on, of course.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You know your stuff. You know what you're talking about in this situation.
You're right. I should be better.
Along with our beer review, we can have a saxophone review this week.
You're right. All right, guys.
Just wanted to say thanks to everybody who is joining in, playing with us at picksandIPAs.com/join. We're in triple digits now for those playing along at home. Thanks for everyone who's joined us, playing along, having fun week to week.
Oh, you betcha. And if you look, the thing is that you can still join. If you've been playing along with us at one of our other leagues or any of the NFL.com leagues, you can sign up for the Picks and IPAs and your points carry over and you'll still be ahead of Gerrad.
Well, you guys say you're having fun with this. I'm not having fun anymore with the pick.
You're part of the Gerrad, this is what
Odell Beckham had to say, man. He's not having fun playing football. I'm not having fun picking football game.
Did you cry and kick a kicking net?
Yeah, kick me back.
But Gerrad, see, you're in the position I was last year. You are setting the bar for everyone who listens to the show. If they are doing better than you, it's a good time.
Yeah. Okay.
So
this has been
just
a great
take pride
time for
in
me.
that. Own it, and take pride in it.
So just point of fact, last year I did well. This year I did well. So I'm consistent. You guys can't get it together for 2 seasons in a row.
I beat you the first season. What are we talking about here?
We're not talking about that season. We're talking about last season.
Well, you're going to lose this week because I have the picks to beat you. You will be going down.
That's what you said last week too, and I still beat you. All right,
barely.
Let's talk about some of these said picks.
It's time to lock in this week's picks.
Right out of the gate, Gerrad. Denver Bronco minus the cubes.
Man,
going on the road to take on the San Diego Chokers. Who you got?
Even our coach is hurt. Everybody's getting hurt. I mean, look, if we have to go into this game with Paxton Lynch again, I'm not too sure about our odds given Gary Kubiak isn't there to call the plays. I mean, a lot about what we do offensively and how we can use these quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, Brock Osweiler, Trevor Siemian, is dictated, their style of play and how well they play is dictated by the play calling. Kubiak does a wonderful job of getting these average quarterbacks to play well. And if he's not there and we're going with Paxton Lynch, there's a good chance we don't win this game because the Chargers have done everything. They've been playing really well. They can't close out games. So I'm hoping we get Trevor Siemian, rooting for Kubiak's health, even though he's not going to be coaching. I still got the Broncos, but man, there's a good chance we lose this game.
Yeah, this is a tough week to pick, right, with the quarterback situation. But the Chargers, man, they had a chance to win that game last week, and the field goal or the punter? He couldn't handle the football for the field goal try.
Yep.
fumbled it away, and the Chargers find yet another way to lose. And I just have to bank on the fact that the Chargers will continue to find ways to lose. I don't even want to speculate at how what the spectacular fashion that they'll find to lose this week, but you can count on that something's coming, and that'll be one reason to watch an otherwise terrible Thursday night matchup because they just haven't been good this year. But I think the fact that I'm going with the Broncos on this one, and 87% user consensus. See, the Chargers have people believing that they will find ways to lose. Only 13% going with them, even with everything that's going on with Denver.
Wow. Risk pick, anybody?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. This is a game time decision for me because, if Trevor, if the Seaman plays, then I've got Denver. But I don't know how a Denver or Kubiak offense functions without a Kubiak. That's what I'm really worried about. But you're right about San Diego just finding new and inventive ways to lose. This is how I predict they lose this game. It's a butt fumble that pops into the air. It is caught by Denver via helmet catch for a touchdown. And that's how they lose the game. Because they find a new and inventive way to lose each and every week. But I've got Denver initially if it is the Jizz. But if it's not, then I'm going with San Diego because and that'll be my risk pick, I guess. Maybe I'll just make that my risk pick overall because you know what? I'm going San Diego because the Kubiak offense doesn't function without a Kubiak.
and it's probably a good one to take your risk pick on them because they're not a whole lot of risk worthy picks this week. And so it's going to be up to me and Gerrad to decide who wants to maybe pick the Browns or pick the Bengals against the Patriots. The other risk pick game would be the 49ers against the Bills. And maybe you want to, because I don't know if there's going to be a lot of people picking the Dolphins over the Steelers. That's the only other one that you can take. So four risk pick games left on the schedule for me and Gerrad to decide between.
Pick them carefully.
Well, I know he wasn't going to pick San Diego. That's for sure.
Well, Gerrad can take all the risks because that might be what it takes to get back in this.
You betcha. All right. Carolina Panthers, who played that putrid Monday Night Football game the other night, go on the road to take on Drew Brees in the New Orleans Saints. Brandon, who you got?
This is perhaps two of the worst teams playing this week, isn't it? Because you have the 1-4 Panthers on the road against the 1-3 Saints. I've said it in the past. I like the Saints at home. I like the fact that I suppose Cam Newton will be back, but Drew Brees always seems to be able to put points on the board at home, and this Panthers defense hasn't shown they can stop anyone. I'm going with Brees and 59% of the users, 41% with Carolina.
I don't want to overreact to the Panthers' demise right now. I really don't. I think Cam Newton's still going to play well, but with what Carolina's defensive secondary has given up, I think Drew Brees is going to torch them, especially at home. And this is actually one of the harder picks that I'm looking at this week. I'm going Carolina because Brandan picked the Saints.
Okay, all right. He is going irrational this week, folks. So Cam Newton is back, and I think that bolsters your cause if you're going to pick Carolina. But Carolina did slow down the third best pick in last year's draft at quarterback in Jameis Winston because he's no longer the second. Trevor Siemian, undrafted, is now officially better than famous Jameis. He fucking sucked on Monday night, and he's missing wide open dudes, just making poor decisions. Jameis Winston has totally regressed, and that's the only reason that Carolina secondary slowed down anybody at all. Last time I saw Carolina's secondary play anybody any good, they got rid of one of their quarters the game after. Ben Wickery cut because he was torched by Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons. I remember that. I remember Drew Brees is, awesome. So I'm going with the Saints to roll up about 35 on these guys. Saints all the way at home.
I'm going to gain one on you guys.
Well, it's very possible because the Saints defense, if the offense puts up 35, the defense could allow 37 and they could lose. So it's very possible.
Yeah, that offense, even though Cam comes back, that offense isn't the same without Jonathan Stewart for the Panthers.
Yeah, but they could win the game against the Saints. It's kind of a coin flip game. I'm just leaning Saints because of the home field advantage.
Okay, I'm leaning Drew Brees.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Cleveland on the road to take on the Tennessee Titans. I watched the Titans and Miami Dolphins extensively last week. I watched a lot of that game. Mariota looks sharp because he's the first best pick from last year's draft, threw 4 touchdown passes against Ryan Tannehill and the Dolphins, who are really just unraveling. Cleveland has pretty much completely unraveled. They even had Terrell Pryor finishing out the game, a quarterback, I believe, last week. At one point,
Charlie Whitehurst took the knee, but Terrell Pryor was in there at quarterback.
Yeah, and
Charlie Whitehurst took a knee down 20 points at the end of the game. Who kneels down at the end of a loss when you have the ball? Does that even happen?
That's the most Charlie Whitehurst things Charlie Whitehurst has ever done.
And now he's no longer in the league. He officially cut by the Browns.
No way. It was because he decided to kneel by down 20. Even Clipboard Jesus can't come back from that. This is easy for me. I'm going with the Titans. I think their offense, while not spectacular, is a little more consistent than Cleveland, and their defense is atrocious.
The Browns have all their backup quarterbacks back this game, though.
all of them.
McCown and Kessler.
Every one of them. But, you're starting to have a point here with Winston. I'm starting to see him regress a little bit. I mean, he has some flashes, but he's not great. I think Mariota might be a little more collected. He might be a little more calm, might have a better demeanor at quarterback. So I think you might actually be winning this argument currently because I'm losing absolutely everything else. I'm going with the Titans and potentially the best pick in last year's draft.
Ooh.
Wow. This could be what turns Gerrad's season around right here.
Humility? Because I've never seen it out of him before ever.
I'm just saying, it's never happened before. Yeah. This could be what works, and you just never know. I'm also going Titans here, 91% with Tennessee, only 9% with the Browns. Clearly, until the Browns actually show us that they can put together a win, there's really no reason to pick them. Titans for me.
Wow, I can't believe it's 91-9. Like, that's surprising to me. I would have thought it was like at least 75-25.
Well, the Browns haven't showed much in there, but they were taking on the Patriots. I think they've been in close enough games. This could be a close enough game, but until they show they can close out a game, kind of like the Chargers, why pick them?
Well, the Browns are reportedly open to trading anybody on the roster except for Terrell Pryor. Because he plays all the positions for them.
Yeah.
All right, guys, NFC East matchup. Philadelphia Eagles on the road to take on the Washington Redskins, Gerrad. Redskins win in a fluky game last week. Philly loses a heartbreaker to Detroit, of all teams. Who you got?
Well, Philly shouldn't have lost that game. That fumble cost them. Their defense kind of cost them. And that interception that Carson Wentz threw in the end of the game, receiver didn't even make a play on the ball. I mean, we talked about this before the show. I think Carson Wentz's pocket presence is head and shoulders above any other rookie I've seen in years. I mean, he really is good. Like you said, he makes really good decisions. He's got a strong arm. I'm going with them this game because Kirk Cousins is that same guy. He's that Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's that Brock Osweiler. He's the guy you don't really want to play or pay because you don't really believe in him that much. And I think that his play is showing that this year. I don't believe in the Redskins one bit. I'm going with the Eagles and their offense.
Yeah, I'm with Gerrad. I'm not a believer in the Redskins. Only 29% with them this game, 71% with the Eagles, behind the rookie quarterback, Carson Wentz. And I look for him to bounce back. He's a poised guy. You can see that in how he plays. You thought he had that ability at the end of the Lions game to drive down the field and get the win. It looked like he was going to do it. The officials maybe make a bad call in that situation with the one of the players out of bounds, and looks like he could have possibly been touching the ball, but no conclusive video evidence. The Eagles fans not happy about that. I like the Eagles in this game just because I don't know if I've picked Washington 1 week to win, which is tough because they've got 3, but I'm going Philadelphia.
All right, guys, I think I'm with you here on Philly. Watching Washington last week against Baltimore, they're just not great. I mean, the only reason they won that is, CJ Mosley has the interception, runs it back, and then just decides to
bowl the ball over the end zone.
Yeah, just like it's a bowling ball. I've never seen anything like that ever. That was unbelievable to me. They really did luck out. I guess Deshaun Jackson is unhappy with the offense. Big surprise there. Mm-hmm. I do like the way Carson Wentz has looked early on. I think this guy is going to be legit in the league, and more power to him. It's good. I don't know that Philly's defense is really great, but I'm not sure that Baltimore's is either, and Washington struggled against that. I'm going to take Philly on the road just because they have the better quarterback. Now, I wanted to share with you guys real quick. I was going through the checkout line at Albertsons the other day, and I had my Seahawks sweatshirt on. Guy goes, you're a Seahawks fan, the cashier. I was like, yeah. He goes, I'm a Redskins fan. I was like, good for you. You guys are trying. And and he goes, yeah. I was like, hey, good thing you didn't pay Cousins in the offseason, right? He goes, oh, no, I really like Cousins. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, I guess he's a good league average quarterback. And he goes, yeah, kind of like Russell Wilson, league average, like dead serious. He thought that was serious. And I just laughed. I laughed so hard in his face. He was so pissed. But I don't know. Redskin fans still thinks that Kirk Cousins could somehow be good.
How can you believe in Kirk Cousins after watching football?
I don't know. I mean,
he'd be a great backup.
Yes, he'd be a top tier backup. He's definitely one of those guys that's a borderline starter at best, but whatever. All right, guys, moving on to AFC matchup between potentially two playoff teams, supposedly. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals on the road to take on the Genghis, who's come back, and he's starting to take the league by storm, even if he was, quote-unquote, a little rusty last week, Brandon.
The Genghis has returned. Tom Patriot and the Bradys are reunited, and this is kind of a must game for the Bengals to get back on track, because if they drop this game, they're to 2-4, and I don't know if they're going to be able to catch the Steelers in their division. The Ravens, still would be leading them in the division. This is a critical game for the Bengals, but I don't think they're going to win. This is Tom Patriot's return home to Gillette, and he's not going to be losing this game, and everyone watching knows he's not going to be losing this game. 95% with the Patriots, only 5% with the Bengals, a former playoff team. A little bit surprising.
I think you hit it right on the head when you said former playoff team, because now that Hugh Jackson's gone from that team, yeah. I mean, they
poor. Don't look the same.
They're poor offensively, and they never were that great defensively. I mean, they were a decent team, but with all the defections over the years, they just haven't been able to replenish. And look, the Bengals played Dallas last week, and they were down like 28-0. I mean, they didn't start scoring points until late in the third quarter, I believe. So, look, I'm not. Just Cincy's bad now. That's basically it. And Genghis Tom came out and started giving the NFL his FU tour. And it's going to continue at his first home game. Patriots for sure.
Cincinnati kind of seems like one of those teams that's gone stale. They've been doing the same thing for so many years, even though their roster and their coach have been slowly picked apart year after year that they've been pretty good. They've gone from pretty good to the league knowing exactly what they're going to do now. And this is going to be no different. Like you said, Brandon, this is Tom Patriot's homecoming after the 4-game suspension. Sorry, Bengals, that you had to come across this, but you brought up the Ravens, and that's a divisional game that they're going to have to try to win if they want to even compete in that division. And those divisional games are tough, even though it's the Ravens. This is a must-win for the Bengals, but it's not going to happen against Tom Brady.
No, it's not. I mean, Genghis Tom is back to kill us all. He really is.
I will say the league is better with him in it. I like watching quarterback perfection, and that's as close as you can get.
Yeah. Especially when he shakes off the quote-unquote rust. We'll see how that goes.
Right.
Whatever. All right, talk about a couple quarterbacks who look like they've been in the Rust Belt for far too long. Is Joe Flacco and the Baltimore Ravens, Gerrad, take on Eli Manning and the Giants, who seem to be reeling.
I can't watch Eli Manning or Joe Flacco anymore. I can't do it. They want to throw picks. They want to screw up. They want to not win games. I can't do it anymore. I've tried watching the Giants. They have every opportunity. They're not a roster that is completely
devoid of talent.
Yeah, I mean they're not. But goddamn, I can't stand it anymore. I'm going with the Giants just because I hate the Ravens too. But I'm not going to watch this game.
Well, Brandon, what do you got here?
You could almost say I could say everything that Gerrad just said because it's completely accurate. These two teams, this is going to be one of those games where who wants to win less, because what we've seen so far, that's kind of what we've seen out of these teams. The Ravens obviously didn't want to win last week, despite the defense ability to pick off a pass and run it into the end zone when they're barely have any contesting from the offense. I'm so frustrated with the Ravens I can barely speak because I had them to win last week and they screwed me over. So I'm going with the Giants this week. 2-3 team, clearly more talent with. Is this a face-off of two formerly elite quarterbacks? You have Super Bowl winning quarterback Joe Flacco, who he considered himself elite for at least 1 year, and
I think he did, yeah,
right. And then Eli Manning, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, that automatically puts you in that category, right? But just two guys that don't look the same. But I have to pick the Giants because I can't pick Baltimore.
Wow. Okay. Well, basically, Baltimore fires offensive coordinator Mark Trestman this last week, and this could be very much like when the Bills fired their offensive coordinator a couple weeks ago. A struggling team, just looking for a boost, and basically, this could be it for them. So I'm going to go with Baltimore. Even though this will be a battle of the anti-clutch, just like you guys, the Bulls said. Look, Eli's totally unraveled. I mean, he really just, you know what? I'm going to say it right now. Week 6, NFL 2016, Eli Manning is done in the league.
Ryan Nassib, his backup, who's actually a fairly legit quarterback?
Maybe. But here's the thing. Eli Manning doesn't want to get hit anymore.
No.
He doesn't want to get hit.
And look at how many wide open throws he missed in that game. They should have beat the Packers in that Sunday night game.
Yeah.
Wide open throws. There were a number of them.
And he was just shitting his pants all through the Vikings game. Like he really was. He was so scared. So I'm going to take Baltimore and pick up another pick on you guys here. All right, guys. Colin Kaepernick gets the start for the first time of the year. He must have gotten a haircut along with his restructured contract as he takes on the Bills because that's the only way he was going to play. Who you got, Gerrad?
Risk pick, baby. I'm going with the Niners. There is no tape on Kaepernick. I know they got it, but the Bills are going to self-destruct. It's got to come to an end. This whole, 3 wins all of a sudden. It's going to come to an end. Kaepernick's going to go.
It was over 3 weeks.
Whatever. He's going to rush. Colin Kaepernick is going to rush for about 185 yards. Tyrod Taylor is going to rush for about 105, but it's not going to be good enough. I'm going Kaepernick, the so-called patriot who kneels during the anthem.
He's not a not patriot.
No, he's not.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't mind what he's doing. Free speech. I got no knock on the guy. It's just I think he's been waiting a while to play, and I think he's going to be excited, and I think he's going to kill the Bills.
Yeah, I saw you jumping up and down, Gerrad, wanting to get that risk pick out first. I guess I have the Bills then, but
you can make a risk pick without it being your risk pick, Brandan.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to make another one down the road.
Yeah, well, I'm going with the Bills because Gerrad obviously hasn't shown to be competent in his picks this week, in the weeks leading up. So I'll take Buffalo here. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They can go to 4, and user consensus 90%. So if I switch over, and don't win, I'm losing ground to a lot of people out there playing. I'm going Buffalo.
Yeah, you've been losing ground to me one way or the other.
By 10 points a week? Please. I'm still ahead of you.
Guess what that does? It adds up. You know how you eat an elephant, Brandan? One bite at a time. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm just coming back. So we got, basically, we all speculated why Colin Kaepernick wasn't playing, and one of us figured it's because he couldn't get his helmet over his hair, but really it turned out to be that contract.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of guaranteed money. If he got hurt, Niners didn't want to be on the hook, and that was the only reason Blaine Gabbert had been starting at that point. They get it renegotiated. This is a great opportunity for Kaepernick. And I hope he does play well because I do think he's better than Gabbert. But the Bills have found their mojo.
If Kaepernick does well, he's given the double birds to San Francisco on the way out the door after the season.
Oh, yeah. All the birds. Well, Rex Ryan's going to be giving the Niners the birds on his way out of this game because that defense has come alive. And I don't see the Niners having enough talent in the receiving core. I mean, Jeremy Curley isn't the answer. I mean, he's a nice third
Doesn't
receiver.
matter. Kaepernick ain't throwing. He's rushing.
Well, maybe not. So we'll see Buffalo Bills in the Orchard Park. So, yeah, this is not only that, this is in Buffalo. So good luck.
Good risk pick, Gerrad.
Yeah. Toilet bowl of the week. Here it is, guys. Jacksonville Jaguars, Brandan, go on the road to take on Hoya the Destroyer and the Bears.
Yeah, Hoyer the Destroyer puts up the most passing yards since the 80s for a Bears team. How could anybody pick it against the Bears? But yet user consensus on this game, only 44% with Chicago. I like the home team here to take on the 1-3 Jaguars. Going with Chicago. I think Hoyer will continue to destroy.
I'm going to disagree with you here. I think Gus Bradley and this amazing Jaguars defense is going to have 2 weeks to prepare for Brian Hoyer, who is an incredible, prolific passer. I'm going Jags on the road.
Oddly enough, the Bears are putting up 372 yards per game in the air, which is unbelievable.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Let that roll over you. And Jags are also giving up 45.6% of their third down conversions on the year. And that would lead me to believe that the Bears would have some offensive success, but I just think the Jags are the more talented team here. I have a hard time looking at that Bears roster with devoid of talent with the most balls coach in the league. I think Gus Bradley's going to make one gutsy call more than John Fox, which will be one gutsy call. And I think Jacksonville wins this game on the road.
2 weeks to prepare.
2 weeks, you're right. All right, guys, we got the LA Rams, no longer division leading, Gerrad, on the road to take on the Detroit Panthers. Or Detroit Panthers, Lions.
Same thing.
One of the kitty cats.
How about before we get into that game, we do our beer review, guys?
Sweet. That way I can go ahead and reintroduce that last game.
It'll be less embarrassing for you.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. Can't edit that.
Next up, this week's beer review.
All right, gentlemen, this week we are drinking the RJ Rockers Brewing Company Brown-Eyed Squirrel. A little promo here. A beer you'll want to stow away for yourself. Brown-Eyed Squirrel is their riff on an American-style brown ale. Deep brown in color from a fusion of rich chocolate, caramel, and brown malts. Brown-Eyed Squirrel is a smooth and flavorful brown ale and is one of their most regularly awarded beers. Earned the bronze medal at the 2014 U.S. Open Beer Championship.
Well, I'm familiar with bronze medals at this point in the season.
That's a stretch.
I do like the beer though. I'm a nut brown fan in general, and I think this is a good one.
You know, I'm surprised. I mean, you talked about the chocolate and the caramel and the dark brown malts and all that. It's remarkably bitter compared to a lot of brown ales. I mean, not like IPA bitter or even a pale ale bitter. I'm not a giant fan of this beer. I enjoyed their Dunkulele more than this.
Maybe it's you who's bitter.
I'm divorced, remember? But yeah, I mean, not bad. I mean, it's not a terrible beer. This just would not be like, for example, like Bitter Brewing Company here down in Hamilton. Their nut brown crushes.
It's amazing.
This. Yeah, it's the gateway beer. This I look at browns as the gateway beer into some of your microbrews outside of your domestic regular brews. And if you were to give this to somebody, it's not quite as smooth as some of the other browns, and I don't know that you would hook them into the microbrew universe with this beer.
Well, this is part of the reason why I like it, because as other brown ales, they're just not, they don't have that bitterness that I like. And like you said, this is on the more bitter side of a brown ale, and which makes me like it more. I'm all in on this one, where I didn't like the Dunkulele. So different
How
taste.
wrong are you always?
I don't know.
I do think I tend to like this one a little better than the other one too.
Yeah. Okay.
I like how our beer club gave us two formerly award-winning beers in our box of 4 beers, guys.
Yeah, I think they did a nice job. Like I said, it's just a little bitter for me for a brown, but that doesn't mean it's a bad brown. I mean, that's just my personal thing. I think, it's got flavor. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
I think my problem with nut browns is I compare everything to bitterets.
Yeah.
And you're not going to beat that.
That's tough.
Well, the other one, what other brown do you compare it to? Like the Newcastle? That one's like kind of a nice, balanced,
Newcastle,
like gateway beer.
Smooth.
It's a very smooth.
Also, Moose Drool, which is incredibly popular. Most people who are listening to this can get that anywhere at this point, which is actually pretty good. But I think Bitterets is even better than that. Not that a lot of people have access to that.
Yeah, Moose Drool might be our most famous Montana beer.
I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is too. But yeah,
it's a good beer.
And this tenor sax that this Squirrel's holding. It's a mid-range one. I think it's a Selmer. which is fine. For a guy that looks like he's probably an amateur saxophone playing Squirrel, it's probably all that he needs.
Well, you don't really expect a Squirrel to play a baritone sax, do you?
No.
It's a little big for this little guy.
No, I mean, even a tenor is a little large. I mean, this is definitely a Squirrel-sized tenor for his wee little Donald Trump-sized hands, for sure. So, but yeah, you promised a saxophone review, so.
I know. I'm glad you got that. I'm glad you worked it in.
All right, me too. On to some picks.
Well, that makes two of you.
All right. The LA Rams on the road to take on the Detroit Lions, Brandan. We saw the Detroit Lions come out and get a win last week. We saw the LA Rams come up a little short last week. Rams no longer leading the division. Who you got?
Well, as I explained last week, whenever I pick the Rams, it jinxes them into losing. My plan worked perfectly last week, as though I dropped a game in the picks, Adam, but I earned us, the Seahawks, a division title after the first 5 weeks. So I'm happy to make that sacrifice. I'm happy to continue to make that sacrifice, while I would normally pick the Lions in this case, which is a coin flip game as far as user consensus. Only 53% going with the Lions over the Rams, 47% with LA. I'm going with the jinx on LA once again by picking the Rams.
Oh, man. I like how you're the martyr over there. You're the only one who picked the Rams to jinx them for the Seahawks win. Because I also picked the Rams to give them the double jinx so that we would be in first place after the bye. It wasn't just all you.
I'm taking credit because where were you last season? Where were you last season?
That's true. He was a year ahead of you on this jinx pick thing.
That's fine. I still beat him last year too. Look, here's the thing. Detroit gets Justin Forsett. They pick him up this week coming out of Baltimore. He was cut by the Ravens. I'm not exactly sure why. After having a breakout season 2 seasons ago, I think he's still a quality back. I think he comes in and gives them a little boost in the running game. I like the fact that the Lions are getting a little healthier on defense. They showed me a little grit in their last game against the Eagles. And Matt Stafford actually was able to move their ball around a little bit. And the dirty secret here is that the LA Rams defense has been struggling. They're in the lower half of the league in a lot of different categories. If you take a peek at it, I think Matt Stafford has himself a little bit of a field day. Justin Forsett makes himself a new home. Go Pride, go Lions.
Yeah, I think there's a reason Justin Forsett was available. He's not exactly a young stallion at this point anymore. I don't think he really has much less. I don't think he's going to make an impact in this game.
Don't poo-poo Justin Forsett.
I know that he had a good year, but that was all he had left. I mean, and frankly, I'm not giving the Lions credit for that win last week. They got a turnover they shouldn't have had.
Forced a fumble.
Sure. You could say however you want to flip that one, you can have it. They shouldn't have won that game. Matt Stafford played well against a really, really mediocre defense. I think the Rams defense is a little better than that. I'm going with the Rams, even though they're probably minus Trumaine Johnson at this point, which is going to be tough. If they had him, I'd definitely go with the Rams. I'd feel comfortable with it, but I'm going the Rams anyway because I don't believe in the Lions hardly at all, especially after watching the game last weekend.
I didn't think it'd get any worse from you going irrational with your picks, but looks like it is. Looks like it's getting worse.
I like the Lions here, but I'm going Rams. That's I think what I heard from Gerrad.
All right. So Rams, you got Rams for the jinx again?
I'm taking Rams for the jinx.
Man, this is going to be a good week for me. All right. Speaking of picks that should be easy, here's your risk pick, right, Brandan? Pittsburgh goes on the road to take on Miami.
Guess what, Adam? This isn't my risk pick because there's one other game left that I did not mention. And so I got Gerrad to take the one I wanted. I will explain my risk pick coming up. It's not the Dolphins. I'm going Steelers on this one. 97% with the Steelers and the Dolphins. Just to illustrate how terrible the Dolphins are right now. You mentioned Ben Wickery, Adam. The Dolphins signed him to put Ben Wickery into their secondary. So if that's as bad as it is, they're picking up a guy that just got torched by the Falcons. They're in rough shape, and against the Steelers, they're going to continue to get torched.
I'm not really surprised that Brandan just hung some bait out there for me and I just took it. That's par for the course for what's been going on with me this year. I just need to be smarter at some point, and I just am just dumb in every sense.
I don't know that genes will help with that.
But when I look at this game, I read an article about Ben Roethlisberger talking about how the Steelers' physicality of practices are leading to some injuries. And before last season had started, I'd kind of wondered how much longer Big Ben really wanted to play. And so in his younger days, he would have never even mentioned the physicality of practice. But I don't know if he really wants to get hit that much either. And so I don't know how much he has left in him, but he's got this season, I think, and the Dolphins are a train wreck. I'm going with the Steelers.
Yeah, I think Ben's at least got this year in him. I mean, I think he's able to get hit on the field. I think he's definitely not excited about getting knocked around in practice anymore.
Well, he doesn't get hit in practice. He was sticking up for his teammates and such. But
okay. Well, there you go. I guess that makes sense. But look, I thought Miami would be better with Adam Gase. I really did. I thought he'd be able to get Ryan Tannehill playing at a little higher level. And I saw an article saying that ownership is worried that the Miami defense is going to have a total collapse because the offense has been so terrible and can't hold up their end of the bargain. This is probably the game that it happens, because if anybody's going to bring the roof down on you, it's Ben Roethlisberger in that receiving core. Pittsburgh all the way. One more game and let's talk winners.
Let's do it.
All right, AFC West showdown. This was a difficult game for me, Gerrad. I'm hoping maybe you have a little more insight being their AFC West teams, even if you can't pick a game well. Kansas City versus Oakland in Oakland.
Good luck picking this game. I mean, we don't really know who the Chiefs are. They're 2-2, and they've been kind of up and down in every aspect. Their defense has been up and down. Their offense has been up and down. Their special teams has been up and down. And the Raiders are offense, no defense. I'm going Oakland because they're at home, and I think they're going to have the home crowd. I think their crowd is excited about this team that finds ways to win on the road against, lower than average teams. I mean, they've been getting a lot of credit for the games that they've won. Their defense is still very questionable. Their offense is good, but they've been doing it against kind of crappy teams. But I think I hate the Chiefs worse, so I'm going with the Raiders.
Well, this is tough because you guys know that I'm a noted Chiefs honk, and while I would normally take the Chiefs in a game against Oakland, I look at what's gone down through the first 4 weeks of the season. Kansas City's won both their home games; they've lost both their road games. I'm starting to see a trend, and that's what makes me lean Oakland here. 76% the user consensus, only 24% with the Chiefs.
Interesting. I think I'm with you guys on this. This is going to be a consensus because I really have been impressed with Derek Carr. Mm-hmm. I mean, he makes some big-time throws and big-time moments. And
he's making Michael Crabtree look good.
He's making him look great.
I didn't think that was possible.
And here it is. That's just it. And he's just now starting to get Amari Cooper involved. I mean, this guy is a transcendent talent, I think. This is a guy that we're going to be talking about as one of the elite quarterbacks in this league sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And I love him as a talent. And I think when you look at that compared to what Kansas City's got going on offense, they've struggled to run the ball a little bit. And you got Alex Smith, who's still averaging like 6 and change per pass attempt. I mean, it's just this dink and dunk shit. It doesn't get you anywhere in this league. It just doesn't. It just gets you to 2-2, and then 3-3, and then 4-4, and then eventually 8-8, and a head coach out of a job, and you miss the playoffs. I think Oakland wins this game at home. I don't feel great about it, but I think Derek Carr is greater than Alex Smith at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I don't think the Chiefs can hang as many points as Oakland does in the end of the game. Yeah. That's kind of where it's at for me.
Plus, Sean Smith, the corner for the Raiders, he's going to have all sorts of inside Andy Reid knowledge to share with Jack of the River. So, take that for what it's worth.
A lot.
Let's talk winners, which means not Gerrad.
Yeah, I'm going to go take a break.
This week's winners, just looking at the top of the Week 5 leaderboard, we got 2 people tied who we actually had quite a few people tied. I think we had 5 teams tied after Week 5. And what I do is I go in and I look and I see of the losses that each team took. And I think it was 3 losses. Yeah, 150 points for all the teams, which means they had 3 losses. And I add up the points in those losses, the margin of victory, and it came out to 11 points for Imiran 410 is one of the teams, and Super Tecmo Rolls is the other. So those 2 tied at the top of the leaderboard.
Super Tecmo Rolls, that's awesome. Hey, everybody caught the Bo Jackson commercial, right? The Tecmo,
Yeah,
the Kia
with
one.
The Boz.
Yeah. Or did you see the Kia commercial where he's like inside the
Boz
Tecmo game?
gets in there though. Did you see the one?
There's
where
two of
Brian
them.
Bosworth
There's
is
one
in there with him.
There's one with
I've
Bo.
not seen the one of the Boz.
Oh yeah, the one with the Boz is even better than the one with just Bo.
Yeah, it is.
Really? Oh, I'm gonna have to find that one then. Even better.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. I just love it. I love hearing the Tecmo music. I love it. It was very creative. Like I can't wait to see the other one then if it's even better. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, so Bo is driving toward the goal line inside the Kia, and the Boz, the Tecmo Bowl version of Boz jumps out in front of the car, and Bo stops, and Boz gets in the car and he says, "Thanks for not running me over," and Bo says, "You mean again?"
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Good for them
good.
for being able to kind of come together and do that. That's
what was it? A documentary, a 30 for 30 on Brian and the Boz, whatever it was.
Yeah.
That was pretty legit. I really enjoyed watching that. He seems like he's come a long way as just a human being.
yeah, he really has.
Those two kind of tied together forever, and so Super Tecmo Rawls is tied for second place with Graph Hawk at 660 points in the Picks and IPAs league, and leading number one Wideout 888 with 690 points.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
690?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm only 160 behind. So
That means I'm only 170 behind.
I'm in the
Big
lower
shooter.
25th percentile of this entire group. That's sad. Man.
You should feel like that's where you belong, man.
I'm number 165.
maybe you aren't setting the bar. Maybe it's Adam, because I'm at 45. And so if Adam's 10 points behind, he must be around the 50th percentile.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right in the middle.
Well, I'm
thus
setting
far.
a bar.
The lowest bar.
The lowest
I'm
bar.
coming back after my one horrific week. I think it was week 3. That was it was awful.
It's comeback time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pick'em League just took a shit on me this year. That's just-
All right, guys. A very interesting game. Dallas Cowboys on the road to take on the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau, with Dallas featuring a top 5 quarterback in this league, Dak Prescott, Brandon.
Yeah. I was down on the Cowboys, and after seeing what they did to the Bengals last week, I told myself that I wasn't going to pick against the Cowboys again for the rest of the season, because it is my belief that this Cowboys team is going to win the NFC East. And even though I told myself that, I did not know that the Packers were the next team up on the schedule. And so I'm in this conundrum of do I go with my belief that the Cowboys are going to continue to win despite me. I've picked against them almost every week so far this season, and it hasn't worked out well for me. But I can't go against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers at home in Lambeau. I just think that's going to... I like the fact that the Cowboys are running the ball, but I think we were talking before, Adam, that the Packers are pretty good at stopping the run.
They are very good at stopping the
Aren't
run.
they number 1 in the league?
Number 1 in the league, giving up 42.8 yards per game.
Yeah, so I've got to go Packers here. 71%, only 29% with the Cowboys.
Wow, that shocks me.
You know, I watched this game, and Aaron Rodgers, he'll play an incredible game, and then he'll come out and he'll just throw the dumbest picks in the world. And when they played the Giants, who I think are a lesser team than the Cowboys, they should have lost that game. Eli Manning missed so many wide open throws. If he hits a couple of those, it's a different game, especially that one right before the half, which would have completely turned things around. The Packers did everything they possibly could to lose that game, and they just were not up against a team who could win it. I mean, Eli Manning, like he's just kind of done to me. But this is a really young, energetic Cowboys team who I think they got all the mojo and momentum heading into this game. And these guys are young enough and dumb enough to not really care about what Lambeau has for them. I'm going Cowboys on the road in this game.
Wow, interesting. It's been really tough for me because I think Dallas, their whole success has been predicated on Ezekiel Elliott being a home run hitter and a big-time running back. And that offensive line really, just mauling people. And it's all been set up by the run game. And with the Packers being strong against the run, that made me pause a little bit. But then I went back and I looked at the Packers' opponents through the first few weeks here. And you're looking at Jacksonville, who doesn't run the ball very well. Minnesota, who doesn't run the ball very well. Detroit, who doesn't run the ball very well, and the Giants, who don't run the ball very well. So no wonder they're number one in the league. I think this is going to be a much stiffer test for them, and I'm concerned about Aaron Rodgers. I am. I know he had the one great game. What was it, like week 3 or something? And everybody's like, oh, he's back. He had a nice, good game. But then he's back to playing just, mediocre football for the most part, especially by his standards.
Yeah, he's not even to 1,000 yards yet.
Yeah, I'm worried.
And he's throwing dumb picks.
Eddie Lacy does not look like the slimming down has worked a ton for him. I mean, that run game just isn't ever going to get going.
And he's hurt with that ankle injury. So
I was going to pick Green Bay initially because it's Lambeau and Aaron Rodgers and all that, but I think I'm going Dallas.
I'm warning you to side with me, man. I don't advise that.
I'm feeling good about this.
Well, that's because you went irrational, which finally matches up with my irrational picks.
Okay.
So that's where we're going. All right, guys, on to Atlanta at Seattle. If you want to hear more about Brandan and I's thoughts on that, you can tune into the Seahawkers podcast, and we gave a very detailed breakdown of that game. Brandan, I don't think you're quite as confident as I am in that game, but I said by 17. I don't know how you're still feeling about that.
Well, there's a lot of people that are feeling good about the Falcons. 42% user consensus, and normally when you're playing at CenturyLink Field, you see a lot more people going with the Seahawks than just 58%. And I think a big reason for that is you see Atlanta first in points with 35 points a game, 457 yards per game, first in the NFL, 333 passing yards, which is first in the NFL, and their ability to run the ball with 124 yards per game puts them in 7th. So in terms of offense, they're showing that they can get it done. But where it comes down to defense, this is where I really question. This is why I think that the Seahawks are going to put up enough points on the board. They're 27th overall in points. They're 26th in the league in giving up yards, 26th in the league in giving up passing yards, which means as Russell Wilson continues to get more healthy, he put up a bunch of yards against the Jets, so he's going to be able to throw on the Falcons. I like the Seahawks in this matchup and the 58%.
I got to side more with Adam on this one as far as it being a several score game, just because from what I saw last week, this was the first time that the Falcons have come across a good defense. And before they played us, they were averaging over 40 points a game. We brought that down a little bit. They scored 23. But when you look at the Seahawks defense compared to the Broncos defense, they're playing at a way more consistent level, especially against the run game. And the Falcons needed a little bit of that run game just to hang 23 on us. But when you also look at last week's game with the Falcons, we couldn't sustain a drive whatsoever. We scored 3 points in the first 3 quarters. That's not going to happen with the Seahawks. I mean, this Falcons defense isn't that good. We just had a rookie quarterback who was totally lost out there. You're not going to see that with the Seahawks. I mean, if you guys can possess the ball the same amount of time that they do, there's no question who's going to win this game. And by how many points. I think 17 is actually pretty accurate, just because Julio Jones is not going to have a heyday like he had a couple weeks ago with a 300-yard game. If we shut him down with our secondary, you're going to do the same thing with your secondary. I mean, and the fact your guys' offense, it doesn't matter if Russell Wilson's hurt. You're probably going to score 30 points, especially against this Falcons defense. I don't see where they're going to be able to beat another solid defense, especially a team that has a good offense. I just don't see it.
For the first time in a bunch of weeks, Gerrad doesn't go with a dick pic.
Which is why I'm going with the Falcons. I got a pick.
I believe you.
Well, yeah, you
Go
picked
Falcons.
You picked the 49ers against the Seahawks at home. You have to pick the Falcons.
I got to do it. They're going to win. Because everything logical I have to say would make sense to me.
Okay.
So they're going to lose. Sorry, guys.
All right. That's fun. Perfect. So the gods are with us, too.
I was going to challenge you had you not picked the Falcons, because
I'm going with the Falcons.
Good.
They beat us. They're beating you.
Double risk pick.
Oh, yeah.
I guess it's technically not.
It's not, because it's 42% with the Falcons.
Insane enough to pick the Falcons.
I would have to be in the game in order to consider it a risk pick. I'm not even close. This isn't a risk.
All right, guys. Speaking of a team that's not really in it, the Indianapolis Colts go on the road to take on the division-leading Houston Texans. Brandan, you're a big Houston Texans honk. Who you got?
Well, this could be what gets the Colts back in it, right? Because at 2-3, taking on the division leaders at 3-2, this could be another year where the South is won by an 8-8 or 9-7 team, right? Because neither of these teams are particularly good. Osweiler is struggling, but this Colts defense, this could be what gets Brock Osweiler back on track, being able to go against a Colts defense that I think any quarterback can throw on, right?
You would think so.
You would think so. I'm trying to pull up the stats here, but I keep clicking on the wrong link because the ads keep bumping it down.
You better.
The Colts defense giving up 410 yards per game, passing yards 28th in the league with 301. This is the week for Brock to get right, and maybe Lamar too, finally able to run the ball. But user consensus in this, 68% with the Texans, only 32%. Finally, people are catching on that Andrew Luck does not have a very good team around him.
I don't think that this is the week that Brock gets right. I've seen him really, really struggle. I do think he's going to have a good week, but I don't think it's going to make him right, because after he plays a defense that is even slightly better than the Colts, he's still going to go back down to where he has been. And it's that offensive line isn't protecting him at all, but the Colts don't have a very serious pass rush, and that secondary is a mess. Andrew Luck just has no talent around him. I'm going Texans at home, but I think it'll probably still be a close game because I don't believe in either of these teams. I think this is the worst division in football, maybe.
It is the worst division in football. I agree with you wholeheartedly. You could sell me on either team in this game.
Oh, yeah.
You really could.
Yeah.
That makes it hard for me. I'm going with the Texans. But, man, you guys are both right about the kid from Cali. I mean, the Kalispell kid, it hurts my heart to watch him struggle so hard out there. And really what it all boils down to, it's fundamentals for him right now. This isn't about what defense he's playing for. This is about fundamentals. Bill O'Brien is a bad coach. Look, this is the same guy that needed his punter to come over and let him know he needed to challenge a play. Like, he doesn't have it figured out. I'm watching Brock play, and his footwork is a complete and utter freaking mess. Throwing off his back foot, throwing on unbalanced, not stepping up in the pocket. Somebody needs to get in his ear hole and let him know that he needs to play with better mechanics. And what's astonishing to me about that is the fact that he backed up Peyton for so long and yet still doesn't have excellent mechanics. And maybe mechanics fall apart under pressure. I get all that. But you would think if anybody had stressed that to him more than anybody in this world could have, it'd have been Peyton Manning. So I don't like Bill O'Brien. I think he's a terrible coach, and I think he should be fired after this year probably. But I'm going to take Houston because I think their defense is just a little better even still. And Andrew Luck, good luck, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, they basically, and how big of all right, I'll save it to the end. I'll save this
Okay.
this comment to the end. So I'm going Texans. Let's move on. Last in game of the week, Monday night game. How many Monday night snoozers are we going to get? New York Jets on the road, Gerrad, to take on the Arizona Cardinals in their quote unquote no-fly zone.
Well, I see how this could have been a good game when you were, viewing it from the beginning of the season, even though I still was never sold on the Cardinals. And sorry, the no-fly zone is a Broncos thing. We've had this since last year. Why are they all of a sudden?
That's what the Cardinals said last year.
Jesus, whatever.
No, I heard that. I heard that the Broncos say no-fly zone and the Cardinals say no-fly zone.
But the Broncos aren't a bird team, so how can they use no-fly zone?
That's a good point.
That's a solid point, Brandon.
I hate that I can't argue with that. So anyway, shut up. The Jets are a turnover machine, but so is Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
When I look at this game, I mean, there might be 8 combined turnovers in this game, but I think the Cardinals secondary is a little bit better, and I'm going to go Cardinals at home. I just picked it right now because I don't know.
Yeah.
This is my risk pick, guys. This is my risk pick. Only 9% with the Jets. It's shocking to me how low this is because the Jets, they aren't done. Their backs may be against the wall, but this is a good team against the run. And if anybody's going to shut down David Johnson, it could be this Jets defensive line. And the Cardinals haven't shown that their offensive line is enough to stop a pass rush either. Carson Palmer is cleared to come back, but we still haven't seen a good game out of him yet. I like the Jets a lot to win this game, despite the 9% going with them, going New York.
Yeah, this is a coin flip game for me. I can't believe the numbers on that. You think David Johnson is way better than he is, Brandon. He's not that good.
He's good. You need to stop it. You watch David Johnson. Back. He's good.
I like what I see out of him. I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's a superstar, but he's pretty good.
He's a good receiving back, but he's not a dynamic runner. He's just not.
But he's versatile. He has that ability to run the ball and catch the ball out of the backfield.
Great, you're mediocre at a bunch of things.
You would like him if he didn't play for Bruce Arians.
You would.
Not true.
That is true.
If he didn't play for Bruce Arians or if he didn't play for the Dolphins, if he were a Buffalo running back, you would love him.
He'd be pretty good. Yeah, right. If he was a Bills running back.
He'd be amazing for the Bills.
Nah, he's not that good. He's not that good. Look, my biggest problem with picking the Cardinals is that the league has caught on to this Bruce Arians vertical down the field offense. They take too many long shots, and it really gets them in trouble. They get behind the chains because they chuck up way too many deep balls that don't have any prayer of being completed because they're not sending Larry Fitzgerald deep. He's their slot guy for the most part. They're sending Michael Floyd deep. They're sending John Brown deep. These guys are inconsistent, especially Michael Floyd. This Cardinals team is struggling, man. And Carson Palmer, coming back from the concussion, that's great and all. Unfortunately, this Jets secondary is bad. And I think Palmer will be able to put up just enough on the road. I'm going to go with the Cardinals, although it pains me to do it.
Well, and when you look at this game, it was kind of a coin flip for me. I can't believe the user consensus on it, to be honest with you. But knowing that Eric Decker is out, Fitzpatrick was struggling enough, and now that he's going to have a new receiver in there as the number 2 guy, it's going to make it even harder.
It's going to be Quincy Enunwa. He's a world beater. Just ask John Lynch.
John Lynch loves Quincy Enunwa.
He's slow.
But he's big.
Slow. He's got good hands.
Yeah, that doesn't help you if you can't get open.
He's Quincy Enunwa, Gerrad. Yeah, no, Eric Decker being gone for the season is a big deal for them.
Yeah.
News and interesting topics from around the NFL.
All right, guys, let's move on to headlines. I said I was holding one back there real quick with the Indy-Houston game. How about Ryan Grigson coming out and basically blaming this team's struggles on Andrew Luck's contract? Oh, we had to pay Andrew Luck so much we can't pay a defense.
Oh, sure.
How come the Seahawks paid Russell Wilson a bunch of money yet somehow still have a defense?
Talk about throwing somebody under the bus. You made the decision. Like, the decision was made, right? You got to roll with it, and you got to try to draft well. You got to put talent around them. Like, the Seahawks are in a whole different boat because they draft well, so they can afford to pay these younger guys a minimal amount of money and still get wins. I think that's how a lot of the teams who are these top flight teams, when you look at the Seahawks, the Broncos, the Patriots, they have a lot of these quality players for not very much money because they draft well. Sorry, Colts, you've been doing a really crappy job of drafting, and then you load up like the former Lakers did with Gary Payton and Karl Malone, and you expect to be good? Give me a break.
I'm shocked by Grigson throwing him under. Well, maybe I shouldn't be shocked because the Colts have shown they're just not a good franchise. If you were that concerned about paying Luck all that money, then don't pay him. Let him go. If you think that you're going to win, you're going to have a better chance of winning by not paying him, then do it. And for you to go back and say that that's the reason why you're terrible, that Colts franchise just needs to completely clean house, keep Andrew Luck, and build around him.
Well, and that's just the thing. I mean, basically, here, maybe it's not so much that that Andrew Luck is a problem because he got paid. Maybe it's because Ryan Grigson sucks as a GM. Here's some guys that are now dead money on their cap. Goster Churlis, Andre Johnson, Antonio Cromartie, Bjorn Werner, Winston Guy, C.O. Moore, Nate Irving, and Donald Thomas. That's $14 million in dead cap money this year against their cap. Maybe it's because you need the GM better, Grigson. Don't be throwing Andrew Luck under the bus.
I barely recognized any of those names.
Oh, Nate Irving came from the Broncos.
And Winston Guy from the Seahawks. You all know Andre Johnson and Antonio Cromartie. Yeah. Gosder Churlis, he's an offensive lineman, I believe. $5.8 million against the cap this year.
Wow.
in dead money.
Yeah, that's money that you could be spending on guys on defense.
Yeah. I had one other headline. Greg Hardy converting to the MMA.
I hope he gets his ass kicked.
Well, not only that, but here's my thing. So for him to play in the NFL, it would have been a giant outcry, right? Yet he goes into MMA and not a peep. You bet. Have at it, Haas.
Well, there's not a peep because there's a bunch of people waiting that really want to see his ass get kicked.
Well, the best part is he's going to have a hard time when he's not fighting a 90-pound woman. As a 300-odd-some pound dude. And hell, I'd put him in against Misha Tate and watch him get his ass whooped. That'd be amazing.
What I took about this is how much credit you got to give for all these NFL front offices for not signing him.
Yeah.
They took a stand like, no, not on my team. That's fine. That's it. And so I give them a lot of credit for the fact that they kind of pushed him out of the league over all of this.
Yeah,
and Ray Rice the same way, though I do believe Ray Rice is genuinely sorry for what he did. They kind of pushed him out too.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, another topic here, guys. How surprising is this? The Minnesota Vikings with Sam Bradford at quarterback. Through 4 games, the Vikings offense, 0 turnovers.
I was actually going to bring up a Sam Bradford thing myself because there was a headline I saw. Sam Bradford, after 6 years, finally playing like the number 1 pick. I thought Adam would love it.
Dude, I love this house of cards so much. I cannot wait for this all to come crashing down. Plus, God hates the Vikings. Like they keep winning games, and he's just going to keep taking players away. They just took away another offensive lineman. Like it's just one at a time. Keep winning to despite yourself, Vikings.
Well, look, that Vikings defense is really good. They're giving that offense as many opportunities as they can possibly afford.
Yeah,
but sure, Sam Bradford is looking good right now. It's a matter of time before he either gets hurt or just stops playing well.
Yeah, he'll get exposed for being Sam Bradford. And the thing is, the Vikings haven't run the ball all that well all season.
Yeah, well, and losing Adrian Peterson, that's the surprising thing to me, that you can lose Adrian Peterson, and that shows how much that defense is giving that Vikings team because they're able to win without him.
That's true. And the Vikings defense is very good. No doubt about it.
And I think Zimmer has been a real difference to that team. I mean,
he's a hell of a coach.
Forever to get a head coaching job, but he finally got it, and he's legit.
Well, we talked about the Bengals struggling a little bit, right? Because Zimmer was the defensive coordinator there, and once he leaves, you see the erosion of that defense. You see Hugh Jackson leave. Now you're seeing the erosion of the offense because, their head coach, Marvin Lewis, is not a good coach.
So if you guys were the head coach, the Dallas Cowboys, Tony Romo is finally healthy, what would you do?
I play Tony Romo, duh.
I like Brett Favre's advice saying that Romo should wait till Dak Prescott starts struggling before he comes back.
Because you need some political cover to make a decision. You can't just hang your balls out and make a decision.
I know if it was up to Gary Kubiak, Romo would play. That's the kind of thing that he did. Yeah, and Romo will play because you might as well put him in there because you know he's going to get hurt in 5 snaps. And even got Dak Prescott back.
And even if he doesn't, a shortened season for Romo, it's not like he needs time to figure out if he's a good quarterback or not. He's going to come in. He's a good quarterback. He's better than Dak Prescott. He has better arm talent at this point in his career. He understands the offense better. When you pair that running game with, say, somebody like Tony Romo, it's going to be even more dangerous. You put Romo in. This is a no freaking brainer. And I love Dak Prescott. I do. And he is the future of that franchise. No doubt about it. But the future of that franchise, not the present. This is Tony Romo's team.
Yeah, there's one reason why I like Dak being in there, and that it does force you to be more balanced as an offense, I think, and go more toward the run.
So does Tony's brittle bones.
Well, like you said, with it being the future for this team, why not just get there? Because what has Tony Romo shown in the playoffs that has shown you that he can win week in, week out in the playoffs? He hasn't. After all these years, he hasn't shown that. So let Dak take the ball and show you if he can be the guy. And if he can't be it his rookie year, then he has that experience to build on. Dak Prescott is the future of your team. I say roll with him and kick Romo to the curb for now.
Yeah, Brandon, I got to say here, I'm with you. I mean, logic goes to your veteran quarterback. Play the guy who knows this is the better, but he's got these guys rallied around him. They're excited to play for him. It's a whole different vibe. It's a whole different aura around these players' head right now with Dak Prescott because
Tony Romo's
they think that they have hope. But like you said, has Tony Romo ever done anything in the playoffs to make you think that he's going to be a legitimate guy or that you're going to be a contender? Absolutely not. At least with Dak Prescott, they don't know. And so when we talk about these aging quarterbacks or these guys who have retired, what's the one thing that really drove them to retirement? They don't want to get hit. There's no way in hell Tony Romo wants to get hit right now. The players know that. I think they would rally harder behind Dak Prescott. I would go with him, and then if he gets hurt or has to come out of the game for some reason, the ovation comes for Tony Romo, your savior's back, blah, 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 blah. I'd go with Dak Prescott the rest of the season.
I remember a team last year that had a pretty good season. Their aging starting quarterback went down, and the young player came in and played, pretty good for a few games, and then was benched. And the aging starter came back in, and they won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. They would have won the Super Bowl with anybody at quarterback. They did not win the Super Bowl because of Peyton Manning. That's a terrible argument.
No, it's not a terrible argument because the Dallas Cowboys could easily win 1 or 2 playoff games with Tony Romo or Dak Prescott. Like, it's not dependent on the quarterback. Like, Tony Romo is the guy there. And in fact, he's the more talented passer. He makes that offense even more dangerous. Are you more afraid of Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, or a healthy Tony Romo and Ezekiel Elliott?
Well,
Tony Romo will never be healthy again.
The other thing about Dak Prescott, how many picks has he thrown this year? And how many picks does Romo throw week to week?
Not many. Tony's been pretty good when it comes to picks. And as far as his playoff record, that's been a marker of the team around him more so than his performance.
He's had some pretty good offense.
Another reason I would base my decision on going with Dak Prescott is because Tony Romo's not going to be there next year. They're getting a deal with Dak Prescott. So you move on right now while you have the chance. Here it is. Go for it.
Look, Jerry Jones is an incredibly loyal guy for all of his Skeletor face faults. Like, he's incredible. They're going to play Tony Romo.
Their choice will be Romo. I agree with that, but I don't agree that that's the right choice.
I think it's the right choice.
I would have played Brock Osweiler last year over Peyton Manning too.
Yeah.
I'd have done it.
I may be on record saying that.
And they probably still would have won the Super Bowl.
They probably still would have won the Super Bowl.
And probably still would have Brock as their quarterback.
It's true.
No.
If you won with Brock, there's no way you don't pay him.
Elway doesn't give a shit, man. He evaluates that talent. He says, see ya if he wants to.
So how about Antonio Brown this week, talking a lot of sense, saying about fines, I don't think excessive celebrating should cost more than guys hitting other guys in the helmet.
It's a solid point. Yeah. I don't have a lot of things to go against him on this.
Can't argue with it.
If he wants to give like 5, pelvis thrusts, like that shouldn't be more than 1 concussion given out. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I didn't think anybody could argue. So we can go away in the show with an agreement on one topic. Fines should be more for helmet to helmet than these ridiculous celebration penalties or taunting penalties.
Not in the Roger Goodell era, it won't, because he's doing basically what Gerrad's doing with his picks this week. Everything irrational.
I don't like ending the show agreeing with you guys, but if that's what we have to do, I guess I'll go with it.
You're right. Go Hawks. All right, guys. I think with that, there's only 2 things left to say, and one is hooray football.
Hooray football.
And hooray bear.
Hooray bear.
Indeed.
Go Hawks.
Broncos.
Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/picksandIPAs.
All right, guys. One more thing before we go. We give Gerrad a lot of shit on the show.
It's earned, though. I've earned it.
Well, yeah, but I'm just
all the shit.
But I'm going to try to show some true colors. Brandan, I don't know if you were aware. I don't know if I told you this or not, but the other day, Gerrad proposed to his wonderful girlfriend Beth, who is fantastic and way out of his league. And believe it or not, she said yes. Congratulations, man.
Thanks. Somehow she agreed to it.
Congratulations,
Still wondering
Gerrad.
how or why, but
yeah.
Gerrad only texts me when he tells me what time he wants to do the show, so he doesn't. This is the first I've heard of it, but congratulations, Gerrad.
Well, at least you get that.
Yeah.
Well, it's more of it's a secret. I live a pretty secretive life. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, being a member of Al Qaeda. That's what he's doing.
Gotta live underground.
Now he's tricked an American woman to marry him, so he looks even more legit.
I am legit now.
Yeah. But anyways, congratulations, man.
Thanks.
Well played.
All right.